All right, everyone, we are live. Good evening. Today is April 2nd, 2019. And today we have a very special guest joining us, Kyle Crooke. He's pretty popular on LinkedIn, and he actually has a book coming out soon, but we'll talk more about that later, and he'll tell you guys more. He's a content creator, consultant, and collaborator. So we want to welcome him to the show and thank him for his time for joining us tonight. So I'll pass it off to Kyle and he can give you guys a brief intro on himself.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Very happy to be here. So, my name is Kyle. I recent college graduate, got my MBA from the University of Florida, and then I have the privilege to work for Cognizant, where I'm a senior consultant in their change management practice. So, whatever our clients need as far as their technological solution, if it's something like the cloud, Oracle, SAP, really anything related to all things digital. I understand what that change is going to be, how it's going to impact particular stakeholder groups and employees for the client. And then I help develop the training, the communications, and then delivery of that training and communication so that the workers, after the technological solution is adopted, that they can truly equip themselves to carry out whatever solution they have and be able to perform their work better. So it's something I really enjoy doing. It's a great integration of technology and people, which I'm definitely interested in, is kind of that intersection between data analytics and human analytics, and kind of putting that into some really resourceful insights for business and for people as a whole, inside and outside the office. So kind of transitioning from there, what Mark referenced earlier about my book is I've been very interested in a lot of things related to people, whether it's leadership, personal development. So I found there were a couple years ago, a Gallup survey poll showed that a very small percentage of global employees felt engaged with their work. So I've spent the last, starting in my MBA program and just finishing up now, so for about a year and a half, I've written a book that helps that's going to help the reader ultimately better enrich and engage their professional, personal, and social life. And so I think it's really helpful not only for you at work, but also for you when you're outside the 9 to 5. And I also include a chapter in the book, which will hopefully be out in 3 to 4 weeks, that's specifically on how organizations can better engage their employees. So I talk about talent management, company culture, anything related to onboarding all the way to advancement and promotion. And I'm really excited to share that with the world. So that's just kind of a brief summary of who I am. Recent college graduate, consultant, writer, and I'm very interested in understanding the synergies between technology and between people. So that's kind of my little introduction for context. And I'd love to, take some questions and give you a little more insight.
Awesome, awesome. Great breakdown, great breakdown. So let's kind of take it back a little bit. So I see that you went to University of Florida for your undergrad and your master. So like in the very beginning when you first started college, like did you always know you wanted like to be who you are now? Or did you have, when you first started, did you have a different idea of where you wanted to go in your career?
Great question. Yeah, so definitely for me personally, it's been in evolution. I had no idea from high school to undergrad to grad school that I would be here, be a writer, be able to be a consultant, lots of travel, and be able to interact professionally and personally with others. Because when I was kind of up until high school and in undergrad, I had severe social anxiety, so I never really envisioned myself being able to network with others, whether it was on social media or in person. And what's been really cool is the expectations I had in high school were simply, to hopefully get a 9 to 5 job and be able to add value as an employee. But then as I transitioned to my graduate studies, I really saw myself come alive when I was interacting with groups of people. And what was a great impetus behind that was in my graduate program, the first month, they had us pretty much with our other classmates, they had us doing different professional development activities, whether it was a networking event, teaching us how to speak better when it comes to improvisation, looking at resumes, doing mock interviews and everything. It was really that process of that kind of forced collaboration with others where I really found that passion in me to understand people better and to relate to them better. So I would say, over time, that progression from high school, undergrad to grad school alone, where I was kind of afraid of people and really didn't want to interact with them, to now being genuinely interested in all things related to people, not only in their work, but also their personal lives, for me is an amazing evolution and transformation. And then to kind of, I guess, go even further back as well, back to high school, I did honestly envision myself writing a book eventually. I had made a promise to myself that before the day I died, I would write a book. Since I had an interest in, at that time, I was writing poetry, I was writing motivational texts to a few of my friends who would send those out to them daily. Said, okay, clearly I have a passion for this. So before you die, make sure to write a book. And nothing really stood out to me as something that I really wanted to get involved in and write a full book on until I saw that survey statistic back during my graduate studies. So I never anticipated in high school and undergrad being first working a job where I collaborate with people daily and where I'm intimately involved with their work and they're intimately involved with mine. And second is, looking forward to that component and really homing in on the people skills, on the soft skills, if you will, from leadership development to EQ to all those fancy buzzwords that everyone kind of aggregates into that people soft skill category. So it's just really exciting to see in such a short time frame, because when you're 18 finishing high school and now I'm 26, it's only been 8 years or so, but to see that evolution and see really develop all these different passions and to see them being executed in real time is honestly a great feeling. So I know, personally, if there's any, listeners out there during high school, undergrad, grad school, and even now, it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to not know where you're going to go or exactly, what your passions are going to lead to, just so long as you, first don't give up and second, they keep taking action. So what I see from my high school, undergrad, and graduate is that I slowly got more involved with other people. In high school, I got involved with other people starting with sports. That was my comfort level. I couldn't really go to parties, or I didn't really want to hang out with people on the weekends. Then in undergrad, I joined a fraternity, I took a leadership role in that. So I kind of forced myself to be more with people, and I took on a loss prevention role where I would help not only fraternity brothers, but also attendees at different events. I'd help them with security protocol, and it helped them just kind of manage the flow of the event that we had, which helped me kind of get more comfortable with different events, whether it's something like a gala, whether it's a graduation, whether it's some sort of formal party, to get kind of more involved in that. And then during my graduate studies, I was kind of forced by the program, like I mentioned before, to really integrate with other people, and I never really experienced that before. And it's something that I found out that I truly enjoyed and something that I stayed open to. So I see, looking back at it, that I would always have expectations of, hey, you need to be more social, you need to do this and that, and I wouldn't do anything about it. So I noticed, reflecting over time, that I did take steps both in and outside of my comfort zone, because I think it's important to push yourself outside your comfort zone in order to see that progression. So now I've been able to, recently when I was in New York, I went by myself to a Drake and Migos concert, actually. And I sat, not with any friends, by myself in a crowd of random, 10,000 plus people. And it's something where I would have never, even leading up to that, I kind of impulsively bought the ticket and wouldn't have imagined that I'd be able, with, my social anxiety and all that stuff, to be able to handle that. But I ended up really enjoying the concert and being able to talk with people next to me and actually have fun conversations with them. So I would say, to wrap all that up, Mark, is that I really have seen myself evolve from high school to undergrad to grad, in necessarily ways that are planned or that I expected, but I stayed open to new opportunities, which allowed me ultimately to overcome my social anxiety and to start enjoying people more. So it's really cool to kind of take a step back and realize the successes that you've had, whether they're tangible, which are easy to notice, a lot of mine have been intangible. So it's really easy to ignore the longer intangible development, but I think it's crucial to take a step back and recognize them. And at this point, I know I still have a lot of room to grow when it comes to socializing with people and being able to relate to them better. But I'm genuinely excited to keep doing that, and I think that's what's most important. What I've learned from high school to college to my job now is a lot of work things in your work, a lot of things in your personal life, just a lot of things are ambiguous, and you don't really know for certain what's going to happen. As long as you stay open and you are able to adapt to situations, you're headed on the right track to success.
Wow, awesome. It's a great story. Yeah, that's I'm glad that you mentioned because you said, you know, you had social anxiety before. I mean, I'm more of a introverted person. Like I haven't actually been diagnosed with anything by anyone, but I mean, I can relate to that because, you know, when I was younger, I mean, I wasn't, you know, the most outgoing, life of the party, like friends with everyone type of person. I wasn't like reclusive, but I was, you know, very selective with, you know, who I interacted with. I didn't just want to interact with anyone. So I'm glad that you mentioned like from high school, like you took small steps, like you said, like your comfort zone was in sports, and then when you got to undergrad, you joined a fraternity, and then you stepped out of your comfort zone and you took on a leadership role in your fraternity. And then as your story went on, like I noticed you kept taking more smaller steps, building up to where you're at now. Now you went from, you know, social anxiety to now you're like light years ahead of where you came from back in high school. Now you're like, you know, kind of a big time influencer now. Everyone's looking at you. So yeah, so speaking about that, it's like what advice, you know, would you give to like the younger people that were kind of in a similar situation as yourself that, you know, may have social anxiety, or they're just uh maybe they're just, you know, introverted, or maybe they're just like a little shy or a little passive or tentative about things. So what would you what would you tell them to help them, you know, get the ball rolling and to eventually build up to
Yeah.
a point where you're at now?
Question marks. Yeah, no, that's an awesome question. So I would say first things first, number one is don't be too hard on yourself. And I know that's kind of a cliche, but looking back at it, I know I mentioned it briefly before, is that I had so many expectations on the person I would be and what I wanted, and put pressure on trying to be more social and trying to force things that just, made me even more anxious. So don't be so hard on yourself. There's gonna be times where if you do have social anxiety, or you're really introverted, or you're simply not in the mood to interact with other people, you don't necessarily need to force yourself into an environment where you need to, interact with them on and on. You can, if it's some sort of event and you're not comfortable, you can speak to a few people you're familiar with, and then simply, move on to the next part of your night. You don't have to stay at the event for an hour or two and deal with all those socially anxious feelings. And kind of going into the second component is always know first, don't be so hard on yourself. And second, know that it's little improvements over time and that it's not linear. You'll definitely have some steps back. You'll have some times where you're just really not in the mood. You can't get yourself to interact with your colleagues outside the office if it's, to go to dinner or something like that. Other times where you get nervous about maybe pitching to a potential client or pitching to people that you don't know. And it's okay to fail and to not be able to do those things at the moment. And then that's where, again, not being so hard on yourself, where these two interact, is because there's going to be times where you're going to have great successes and you need to realize those successes. And when I talk about great successes, I'm talking about the small stuff, like the next day when you kind of pull yourself together and you go to that client and you give that pitch, or you go with, one good colleague of yours that you're comfortable with to a dinner with a few other colleagues to make the introductions and to kind of acclimate more to that environment, when you realize that those small successes are going to trump and outweigh all the setbacks that you're going to experience in the present and in the future as you keep on going, that's what will give you the momentum and the motivation to keep on going and to keep putting yourself out there. And so the third and final tip is when I said, kind of putting yourself out there, is ultimately getting to a place where you do genuinely open up to people. Something I know that's extremely hard, and for a person who's socially anxious or introverted, it's like, I mean, first of all, I can barely go up to someone and say hi. Second of all, how am I supposed to open up to them? So I think over time, as you start to lessen the expectations on yourself, as you start to celebrate the small wins, as you start to go along the process and keep yourself open to new opportunities and new events to meet with people, is that ultimately you'll strike some sort of bonds with your colleagues, whether it's at dinner or if you join a kickball league or something, you'll enjoy, kickball nights with some people on your kickball team, for instance. And if you open up to them and just actually take that step of opening up about one thing, like what I've done a lot of recently myself is I've actually to fellow people who are in my MBA program, to colleagues at work, to people on LinkedIn. These are people that I've been able to develop a bond with by lessening the expectations on myself, by giving my best effort every day and allowing myself to fail, adapt, and overcome, is that I've opened up to them about what I'm, talking to you about right now, is about being socially anxious, about having anxiety, about having a lot of doubt about my ability to add value, whether it's in work, with my relationships, or anything like that. And at the, face value, some people would say, hey, that, makes you very vulnerable, might make you look weak. But on the other hand, it's been really empowering because it lets me share my stories with others, which helps me connect with them better. And since I can connect with them better as a human being, it's easier for every social interaction that I have with other people. So it's, again, another positive momentum builder. And what's the best part of it is, as I've been open about myself and openly communicating with people about my struggles, about my passions, about everything that I'm interested in, is that other people can relate to it. I've spoken to a lot of people who, have said back to me, you know what, Kyle, I totally understand what you're going through. I've gone through very anxious points in my life, and then they've gone on to explain specifically what they experience. And it's a really powerful bonding moment that really makes us relate. And it makes you step out of yourself and realize just how powerful other people are. And that's what I think really is at the root of social anxiety, is that we're so scared of, one, embracing ourselves, and two, of letting others kind of give a yes or no judgment on accepting us, that we forget that, social interactions, whether you're extremely socially anxious or you're, very extroverted and you genuinely love hanging out with people, is that, the people are very focused on their own interests and talking about what they enjoy. So the impetus is more the focus of the conversation, instead of being in your own head and be like, oh, how is this person thinking about me? Am I coming off as, stupid, or do they think I'm this or that? Is saying, no, they have a new empowering moment. And if the person doesn't choose to open up first, I'll be the one to open up first and create that empowering moment. So I think it's, to kind of recap those 3 points, is, one, is to stop being hard on yourself. Two is to realize that the process is not linear progression, and that you'll have stumbling blocks, but you'll also be able to keep going with momentum and motivation as long as you can celebrate the small wins. And then third, and most importantly, is to be open to these experiences and to open yourself up to others. And it doesn't have to be anything nearly as weighted as myself opening up with social anxiety and kind of these deeper issues with people. It can be as simple as, if there's a particular type of music that you like, a particular movie that really struck a chord with you recently, you can open up about that. And there's a chance that the other person either really likes that music and is going to, compliment that, and you can bond on that, or the other person is going to absolutely hate the music that you like, and you guys can have a fun argument and kind of joke around with each other about that. And then that's kind of the same platform with anything else, is that when you provide an opportunity for the other person to provide feedback and to be able to, continue to relate that to that conversation, you allow both you and the other person to open up. So it's really, with these three tips, I think they're a great way to get out of your own headspace and to let yourself truly be present with others when you're talking with them. Because the main thing what I experience with social anxiety is that I'm not present. I'm not focused on the other person. I'm not focused on the conversation. I'm focused on me. I'm focused on not looking stupid. I'm very, focused on me, which is very selfish. So instead of looking at me, I change my focus to you. I ask the other person questions. I stay present. I genuinely listen to and hear what the other person says. It allows me to better connect with them as well, to whatever feedback and whatever openness that they share with me. So it's taken me for the social anxiety. It's really taken me my whole life, 25, 26 years to overcome it. And it's not necessarily something that I've entirely overcome. I still find myself, if I'm meeting new people, whether it's through colleagues at work, or if it's some sort of some sort of event like a gala or something, I'll still get really nervous. I'll still get antsy beforehand. But what I notice with myself is that there's never a doubt in my mind saying, okay, just skip out on it tonight. No, I say, hey, it's this great opportunity to connect with other people, and I put my best foot forward in doing that. So being able to, for me, that's another small win for every event or every time where I naturally feel anxious and nervous at the start of it, but then my mind tells me, hey, you're fine, you enjoy people, move through this. I can really appreciate that as a small win that keeps my momentum going. So I think as long as you're able to adapt and you're able to focus on the other person instead of yourself, that you will continue to see gradual improvement over time. It took me a while. I'm still working on it, and I know patience can be very tough, but it really is truly rewarding when you stick to the process, when you believe in yourself, and when you get out of your own headspace, and when you stay present in conversations with other people. And a great way to do that is I've noticed myself sometimes in the past on work calls, it would be on WebEx, and there'd be like 10 or 20 people on it, and I would sort of be a passive listener on it. And a couple people kind of called me out on it and said, hey, with your responses and kind of, showing your interest in this, it's kind of clear that you're not entirely focused on us or on the call. What can we do to make it better? So I said, well, you know what? You're actually right. I wasn't being present. I was worried about all the work that I had to do. I was worried about this and that. So I've made, in the last few months, a much better concerted effort at being engaged, for 30-minute phone calls. I'm engaged the entire time. And what I've noticed is that not only am I learning more, am I relating to other people better, but I'm actually contributing more by being able to provide my own feedback in real time and being able to be in the moment. So I think if you focus on all the positives that you'll get out of comfort zone and talking to that person, or going to that new event, is that you'll be able to carry it with you, and hopefully within the next few years you can have a similar experience to me, where you can look back and be like, wow, I took all these steps to continue to grow, and I'm by no means perfect, but I'm going to keep improving, and I look forward to the next win. And I think that's a great philosophy that you can have, not only in overcoming social anxiety, but in overcoming a lot of other things that you experience in life.
Wow, that was awesome. It's a lot of great advice. I mean, probably my favorite tidbit I got out of that was, when you're interacting with people, especially if you have anxiety or if you're an introvert, like you said, instead of being so focused on yourself, like during a conversation with someone, you just take the focus away from yourself and put that energy all into learning about the other person, asking them questions. So I never thought of that before. I mean, that's very helpful. Yes, that's awesome. I
I'm
mean,
I am very glad that's helpful. Yeah, no, totally, totally, totally. And it's something that is, once you implement that behavior, it's something that you see immediate returns on. So if it's something that you or anyone in the audience begins to implement, I really hope you get the same experiences and the same I guess positive return that I've experienced with it.
awesome, cool. So It will kind of shift gears a little bit. So, in regards to your work experience, I mean, I've been, I don't want to sound like a stalker, but I've looked at your LinkedIn page. Uh, so I noticed something that popped out to me was you had a internship in Houston. So that's because I'm in Houston. So I said you were a human capital intern, an internship doing that. So can you tell the people a little bit more about that internship?
Absolutely. So it was during I was in a 2 year MBA program full time on campus. And so the summer between the first and second year, it was the opportunity where we'd be able to have an internship and get a little bit more not only work experience, but also be able to see what we're really passionate about and be able to connect with a particular company. So I had the pleasure of being in Houston. I was actually in a very small city called Baytown, which is about 45 minutes east of Houston. That's where Exxon has a few of its manufacturing facilities. And so I had the opportunity to be a human capital intern with ExxonMobil for the summer. And I was really excited. I had three projects in particular to work on. My favorite one that I was able to own and drive a lot of value in was a mentorship program. So they had a lot of guys who were out in the field who were actually out in the manufacturing facilities on the front lines. A lot of the frontline managers were getting older and were in the next few years going to be in the process of retiring. And then to replace them, we're going to be they had a lot of younger guys who were kind of working up their ranks from being a field technician to being a frontline manager. And what they realized is that, hey, we need a way to capture this knowledge transfer that all of these experienced guys have so that they can empower the field technicians to kind of fulfill their shoes as frontline managers. So I had the awesome opportunity. I was able to travel out to Beaumont, which I believe is an hour or two east of Baytown. So I was able to go there, network with different people, and get a uh, new experience for another manufacturing site. And what I noticed is talking to people in the field, talking to people from HR, talking to business leaders and decision makers, I was able to align with everyone on what they expected for the mentorship program. There were a couple people who had done their own mentorship programs in the past that I had communicated with and who had their own insights, but really I kind of made it from scratch. I came up with all the documentation for it. I was super proud of it. I came up with a mentorship committee and how they would decide who to mentor and the frequency of the meetings and how long you would be, and then what the outcome would be of the 1 or 2 year experience and how to quantify it and get performance metrics in there so that we can really make it tangible. And so I got really worked up in the details of it, which was great. But what I didn't do is that I didn't, for the particular plant that I was going to institutionalize it as a pilot, I didn't actually communicate with anyone from that plant. I had communicated with so many other people to get their feedback, and it was a very particular group of people in the plant that I piloted to that I just didn't have much ability to reach out to. So when I finish all this work after 2.5 months, I go to pitch it to their leaders, and they're like, "Well, this is all great, but it's very complex. We just want this, and this." And so I was able, even though granted I was able to put in all that work before, and with their insight, I was able within a couple of days to make it way simpler, way less complicated, and way more tangible, which ended up being way better than what I had envisioned initially. But what really stood out to me that summer is it's super important, no matter how hard, whether it's a client, a specific stakeholder, a customer, whatever it is to, no matter how hard it is to reach them or get time on their schedule, to make sure that you're constantly engaging the end user of whatever you're working on. You can get all the insights from everyone else, but if you don't get the insight and perspective from the particular customer or client that is seeking the help of your work, then you're missing out on something big. So I really enjoyed learning that and being able to adapt on the fly. It was an amazing summer experience. I was able to, because I'd lived in Florida most of my life, so I went with actually another person from my MBA program who was also an ExxonMobil intern. So it was great to have that connection. And I was able to join a CrossFit box there and made some great friends, and was able to get really friendly with the other interns, even though they were at different sites. It was just an absolutely incredible experience that really reinforced my two desires: one, to relate more to people and interact with them more, develop those connections, because it was really great connecting with those interns, and two is my desire to help companies with their people development. And so mentorship was a facet of people development. So I wanted to continue that role, which has led me to Cognizant, where I get to help a lot of different stakeholder groups and employees. I get to help them upskill, adopt a new technological solution to help them not only work better themselves and to feel more fulfilled at work, but also they are empowered to better help their end user or customer. So it was really, really a great summer experience. And I will say, for anyone who is in an MBA program now, or even in undergrad and doing an internship, and then towards the end of the summer, when it comes down to it, if you're about to graduate and if you really like the company and you're interested in going there full time, I just want to give kind of my experience is that, in full disclosure, I actually was not offered a full-time role with ExxonMobil after my summer internship. The reasons why I wasn't extremely clear, but what was clear was that I really enjoyed working with the people I did, and the work that I did do, or did do, with the work that I accomplished. And what was an interesting thing is that in my MBA program, the statistics on how much harder it was for returning MBAs who didn't have an offer, how harder it was for them to negotiate to return with the offer. It was an expectation, and it was really honed in on getting that offer. And even if you didn't want to work for that company, being able to leverage it. But after my awesome experience that summer and having a new sense of self and confidence, I didn't let the lack of an internship offer, I didn't let that impact me negatively at all. And in fact, I recently reached out to a couple of people that I worked with there. And what it gave me was confidence. I was like, hey, I know the value that I have when it comes to people development. I know the interest that I have in working with people. What's going to be the best route for me? And then from there, I used my new skills in networking, relationship building to build my relationship with employees at Cognizant. And when I was there for their interviews, I genuinely connected with every single person and was genuinely enthusiastic about the work that I was going to do. And now it's almost a year later, and every single person at Cognizant that I've interacted with has been nothing short of nice, extraordinary, brilliant, and they're always available to give me some of their time to help me out or share insights. And I'm getting into some really interesting work for internally for Cognizant, where I'm able to explore my passion for company culture and for employee engagement. And so it's just having this continued, I would say, positive yet realistic mindset. So yes, I didn't get the internship offer, and yes, that easily could have bummed me out or said, hey, if I wasn't good enough for an internship, why would I be good enough for a real full-time job that's not just 2 or 3 months long? So I really, frankly, didn't let that bother me. I knew that I had a particular value to add, and that if I'd be able to network well with a particular company, and if I felt a great fit for the company's culture, for the company's people, that I'd be able to blend in very well and be able to eventually stand out as someone who's able to really add value as a contributor. And that's really what I'm experiencing now. So that's my advice to anyone who's whether you're in undergrad, grad school, and you're in an internship and you realize that you're not going to be extended a full-time offer, or even if you're in the working world and something you've recently been laid off or realize that you have to find another job at another company, is instead of looking at it as negative, letting it affect your identity and your self-worth, just let it, reflect on your experience, see what you really enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy, see where you grew, and then from where you grew and what you really enjoyed, use that to help yourself track a particular industry or particular role, particular company that you're interested in, and use your natural passion and energy to communicate that with networking, with the interview process, and just reinforcing that self-confidence and value of self-worth, and you'll be good to go. It's something that's definitely, as far as not getting a full-time offer, it's definitely, frankly, I felt a little bit embarrassed coming back from the summer, because I knew most of my MBA colleagues, would have that offer in hand, and I kind of worried initially, well, does this make me look weak? Does this make me look unvaluable? But then I thought about it, I was like, hey, you could. I think some TV show said this. You could be the tastiest peach in the world, but if a person doesn't like peaches, then they're not going to like you. And so off that mentality, it's like, hey, there's sometimes where you can provide great work, great connections, and sometimes it's just not a fit, whether it's something related to company culture, or it's related to different positions that they have, or something else that they're looking for. Is that a lot of this, stuff that adversely impacts you or could adversely impact you isn't anything that you necessarily had control over to begin with. So I find that pretty empowering to allow yourself to have that control back, and to not let these external circumstances negatively impact your self-worth and your identity. You can attach your identity and anchor it into your core values, and those are things that don't change over time, whether you're fired, whether you're hired, whether you're CEO, whether X, Y, and Z. So I got very comfortable opening up with my MBA colleagues, said, yeah, I was not accepted, or I was not extended a full-time offer. And many of them were very understanding, and they were actually very supportive. Again, it was, looking back at it, it was a way for me to open up to people and be really transparent and vulnerable with them. And it's something that they could have laughed at it, or they could have, let them, make themselves feel better, but like, hey, they got a job offer, and I didn't. But that wasn't the reaction at all. Everyone was very supportive, and they were very, very encouraging. So I just learned so many things from that internship. And so I would also like to tell people, it's not just the work of the internship itself. It's not just the people, but it's integrating that into how you grew as a person over those few months. And looking back at it after the internship, and looking back at it now, about a year and a half out, I can see, from even just a year and a half ago when I reflected on it to now, I have different reflections, and I can see different, interests that caught my attention, and different ways that I developed. And it's absolutely amazing. So that was my internship experience in a nutshell, and my kind of word of advice, encouragement for people currently going through their internship experience is to, do the best they can to take time afterwards to reflect on how they grew as a person, and then therefore make next career choices, personal choices based on not only your experiences, but also where you finding your passions, your interests, and being able to attack those with confidence, with a good self-worth, and with a strong identity intact.
Wow, awesome. It's a great story about the internship. Yeah, I definitely agree when you said, you put in a lot of effort into the internship, but at the end you didn't get the full-time offer. So, instead of just being, all depressed and I guess just kind of giving up and saying, I mean, you could have said, "Oh, I just wasted 4 months or however long the internship was. I just wasted all my time here in Baytown, Texas. I gave them, all my effort, and then I didn't get an internship. So screw Exxon." Like, instead of thinking like that, I mean, like you said, you did put in genuine effort into the internship. So regardless if you get that offer or not from Exxon, like of course, you gain that experience you can put on your resume, and then you gain new connections, you learn new skills. So, I mean, you still had a great experience. So instead of, using that experience and continuing with Exxon, you can still take everything you learned, take all your connections, and you can use that, outside Exxon, because, the world doesn't revolve around Exxon. I'm sure it's a great company, but I mean, there's so many other companies out there. I think that's a great teaching point for all the listeners is that even if you don't get the job offer you want, it's never the end of the road. You can use whatever experience you had in internship, and I guess it's very fluid. It's very applicable outside of the company you may have interned at. So, I mean, I like that story about how I guess you turn your rejection into you built upon it instead of letting it tear you down. So I really like that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that that resonated with you, and what you said about the end of the road. What I'm kind of experiencing and finding out is that the end of the road only comes up when I stop walking.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Yeah.
It's totally, the end of the road, quote unquote, as far and as, either as far or as close as you allow yourself to keep traveling and keep getting back up. So I think it's really, really empowering to know that, with whatever happens to you in life, whether good, bad, in between, it just is what it is and it happened. And if you can leverage it for the future and for what you're doing presently, then you're in a great mindset to be able to tackle anything that life throws at you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. For sure. It's a great saying. Yeah. The end of the road is when you stop walking. So it's all about it's about like a internal locus of control. Like you like don't let outside external influences stop you. It's like you control your own destiny. So
Exactly.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So moving on that's into later into your career, I see that you did spend time as a career coach at University of Florida. So that was after your internship. So can you share with the listeners a more, I guess, a more detailed, more conversational description of your time as a career coach?
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. Yeah, it was a position I was blessed to have during my MBA program. I was able to help other specialty master students so they could be getting a master's in information systems, finance, accounting, master's in international business. And what I did, I essentially served as a career coach where I helped them with their resume to get it a little more standardized. There's a kind of a standardized business template for the resume that a lot of MBA programs use that allow recruiters essentially a standardized resume that they can rely on to see, okay, I can get this person's education information quickly. I can look at their work and I can specifically see the actions and results that they took in order to achieve whatever role they're describing. So I helped with their resumes. I helped with giving tips on job fairs and LinkedIn and networking. I helped with cover letters. I helped with their mock interviews, and I worked with in total probably a couple dozen students, and a few of them I worked with multiple times. What was really exciting about it was that, quite frankly, all of my, I guess, coaching students, like everyone I coached, their resumes and their past experiences were far more impressive than what I had on the table, to be completely honest. But what I had was a structure, a standardized template, and where I could reorient their thoughts and talk to them, essentially consulting and coaching to where I would understand what they had done in previous roles and previous experience and be able to articulate that differently and more succinctly, more clearly, more powerfully on a resume or their cover letter. I was able to add just a little bit of value for that. And was able to put the finishing touches on helping them really stand out in the networking process, interviewing process, and ultimately getting the job. So it was really cool. And I just want to reiterate again is, to me, I felt like all the people I had the pleasure of coaching, they were extremely intelligent. So a lot of them had their own businesses. One of them created an app. Another one was an accomplished Eagle Scout. Just amazing people, and just being able to be one part of their journey and help them along their way was just extremely fulfilling. So it was an absolutely incredible opportunity to be able to add value to others, and it's definitely something that if I get more free time in a bit, I'd love to go back to it and help out people, whether it's on LinkedIn, help with their LinkedIn profiles, or if they want, happy to help them with their resumes, interviewing, networking, all that stuff. Is that it's just so cool to help other people and to be a small part of their journey. So it was just another great way to spend my time helping others, and it really reinforced my values and really connecting with other people through coaching, consulting, and just being a helpful kind of not bump in the road, but a helpful stepping stone for all these really talented and really kind, genuine, humble people.
Wow, awesome. That's great. It sounds like, I mean, not only did the students you coached benefit, but sounds like you benefited just as much from interacting with them and coaching them. That's awesome.
Oh,
Cool.
absolutely. It was so rewarding and fulfilling for me personally. It was an awesome experience.
Awesome. Cool. Cool. So for this last segment, we'll do. So I want to, of course, I mentioned this in the beginning. I want to focus on promoting your book coming up. So can you give the listeners right now and the listeners that are going to watch the rebroadcast about just info on like what motivated you to write this book that's going to come out? And I mean, of course, not give away any spoilers, but just give a brief summary of what topics you're going to talk about in your book.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know I'd referenced earlier, a couple years ago. I saw the Gallup survey where it said like 15% of global employees felt engaged in their work, and 25% of American employees felt engaged. And it just kind of broke my heart, to be honest, because I said you're spending so much time either at work, traveling to work, or thinking about work, and you're not feeling engaged with it, you're not feeling enriched by it, you're not feeling just valuable in it. That broke my heart, and I really wanted to, from that, and instead of using that kind of as a negative or as something to look down upon, I wanted to say, okay, well, if so few people feel engaged, what would be a great way to come up with a methodology or come up with a great story, a great narrative to help people become more engaged in their lives? And what I realized, a lot of people talk right now about work-life balance and the importance of balancing your work with your life, and that's great, but I don't really buy that. What I buy is I guess work-life integration, just life integration, I guess, is essentially you have 24 hours in a given day, and what you get done is based on the priorities that you have. So some days, naturally, your work needs to get put on the back burner for a personal matter, for a family matter, and then other times work is going to require you to put in a little bit additional hours, a little extra stress. That's fine. That's not, instead of looking at it as a balance, I'd rather look at it as a harmony of integration, of integrating every component of your life to realize that you're not just the person you are from 9 to 5 in the office. And also, conversely, I don't want people to think that, hey, I'm just working from 9 to 5, putting in the hours, and then when I'm home at night, when I'm there on the weekends, that's when I can have fun. I'm like, well, that's kind of not a very fun way to live your life overall. So thinking about those elements, I said, okay, I want people to not just have a better, more enriching, more engaging work life, but also a more engaged, fulfilled life. So I broke down life into kind of 3 different components: professional, all things related to work, to one's vocation, if you will. Second is personal life, related to one's avocation, so how the person spends leisure time, any hobbies, activities, interests. And then the third is the social component, which is relating, or part of your social life, which is relating to whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's with your family, friends, your networking, etc., breaking it down into how all of these are synergistic components of your life, where when you better engage one element of your life, you're able to better engage all parts of your life, which will help you bring a fuller self to work and also a fuller self to your play and to your relationships. So I actually break down and get really granular with the different elements of your professional life, of your personal life, and your social life. And I get even more granular and explain how purpose, passion, and persistence are at the root and the driving forces behind all these different components of your life, and how it's all connected and it's all intertwined, and how when you understand that they're all integrated and that you can engage different parts of your life and realize those benefits in other parts of your life, that you're able to really master not only your life, but also what you choose to prioritize. So it's really empowering and really gives people a perspective in taking a step back, analyzing where they are in life, where they feel like they're disengaged, where they feel like they could do better. And then it provides a methodology, solutions, and analogies, illustrations to help people, today, after they read the book, to help them implement actionable insights and practices that help them engage their work better, their personal life better, and their relationships better. And then I think I mentioned it earlier, but I also recently added a chapter to the book, which is my last edition. So the book is finalized now and it'll be published in about 3 to 4 weeks. So Mark, I'll definitely keep you in the loop on that. I'm super excited for it. Is that the last chapter gives 5 practical insights on how organizations can improve employee engagement. And so I really get granular and explain. I feel like, and again, I'm going to be biased because I'm the one who wrote the book. I feel like I tackle a perspective with these 5 practical insights that's different than a lot of the kind of cliche cookie cutter mainstream advice that companies are given. For instance, my first tip, just to kind of give a sneak peek of it, is to don't limit engagement. Don't put a checkbox around engagement. A lot of companies with engagement will deploy an annual survey for their employees to measure their engagement, or companies will say, hey, we have these employee resource groups. We have this Hispanic Latino group. We have this African American group. We have this LGBTQ group, and then you can join them. We have this kickball league as well. You can join. Well, that's all great, but if you're relying only on an annual survey to gauge employee feedback on their engagement, you're not going to be able to make more regular improvements and make adaptations year round. And second, you're probably too late if you're only gauging their interest, or not their interest, but they're engaging their own engagement once a year. So, and then having kind of just check it off the list process, what I advocate is to come up with on the ground engagement groups that are comprised of frontline employees, managers, and leaders as well from different practices, so that you're able to come up with an insightful pipeline of feedback, of insights, of ideas that can drive genuine engagement for leaders, managers, and frontline employees, to make sure everyone is aligned and on the same page. And then on the second point, for the employee resource groups, yeah, that's great to have, but it's also, saying, hey, we have these 3 or 4 resource groups and we have these 1 or 2 leagues. Well, instead, empower employees to reach out to their coworkers, whether it's on Yammer, on Microsoft Teams, or whatever community forum, whether it's digital or in person, that they use to, if someone has a particular interest in, shooting guns, to say, come up with, or say, hey, I'm interested in this, do this on the weekends. And I'm sure a few people whether in the business unit or in the company, will happily join you. And that's a great way to engage people in your office by talking about your interests, being able to bond with them. And it's a great way to bond with them outside the workplace at the gun range. And the same thing can be applied to CrossFit fanatics, right? I myself am a CrossFit fanatic. If you enjoy CrossFit, you can get together with like-minded, health conscious people at your company, have them join your box, or you can do workouts or create your own wellness program with them. There's just so many opportunities outside of the typical employee resource group or the typical, Sunday night softball league that employees can drive themselves and should be empowered to bring these passions and these interests to work in order to better connect with their colleagues, in order to be more engaged with their work, and to also develop those relationships outside of work. So I really try my best to break it down and explain that employee engagement is not a 9-to-5 thing. It's not just engaging them during the workplace. It's making them feel empowered to engage themselves, to engage their work, to engage their colleagues during the workday, and equally important, empowering them to engage their own lives, their personal lives, and their social lives. So whether that comes down into better managing how much overtime you provide to particular employees so that you can avoid burnout and you can, let them enjoy other parts of their lives, which will in turn improve productivity, or if it's other decision-making like that, is to being cognizant and understand that that life isn't just about work. Work's not just about work. It's, it really does. There's still people doing work, right? It's not technology. It's not quantum computing doing all the work. There's still real human people doing work, and human people, they have logic, they have emotions, they have their beliefs, they have their work life, their personal life, and their social life. Instead of keeping them separate and not realizing the synergies and the big picture that's involved in integrating your life, it's really important to first understand how your life is integrated, what you want your life to look like from now on to be integrated, and then empowering yourself with your thoughts, with your actions to lead a more integrated life. So it has a lot of great concepts that I think just come together and will really add value to anyone looking to genuinely engage their lives and enrich their lives more meaningfully, whether it's a recent college graduate, a CEO, if it's a recent retiree. There's so much value in this book that I really hope to pass on to anyone who would be interested in reading it.
Wow, awesome. Great breakdown. Yeah, sounds like an awesome read for sure. Very, very useful, very practical read. So yeah, you said it comes out in a few weeks. So can you tell the people, like, where can they purchase it exactly? Is it gonna be physical? Is it gonna be ebook? Like, how and where can the people purchase?
Absolutely. So I'm going to be self-publishing on Amazon. It'll be available in paperback if you're interested in a physical book, and then it'll also be available on Kindle and as an ebook. And the title of the book is Engagement: The Path to a Better You. So that again is Engagement: The Path to a Better You. That's the working title that it is now. So I can definitely communicate with you, Mark, in the coming weeks when it's being released. I can give you the Amazon link to it as well. And then if anyone's interested in going ahead and purchasing a copy and really realizing these benefits of engagement in their life, I would love to be able to impact anyone who wants to listen to it, and anyone who wants to read it, and anyone who wants to gain insights from it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely be purchasing a copy of that for sure, definitely. So, just to wrap it up, actually, I wanted to ask you this, I guess voice to voice. I see you post a lot of like motivational, like workout videos. I've seen you do like clean and press like 260 pounds or whatever, and different exercises. Those are awesome videos to see on my timeline. So what motivated you, or what influenced you to start recording yourself, working out and posting them on LinkedIn?
Yeah, great question. So I did a lot of motivational content, a lot of writing, and a lot of network building on LinkedIn. And then what I saw was, hey, I'm really passionate about fitness. I'm really passionate about kind of the daily discipline that goes into it, and kind of reflecting on it is through the different fitness challenges that I put myself through, or the different training that I experience. I see so many parallels to work and to life itself, whether it's overcoming a bad training session, the mindset I have going into it, being able to recover after I fail a lift and be able to go and make that lift successfully, being able to overcome adversity. And then also the other components of CrossFit or of working out, just being in a group of like-minded people and being able to really have fun and socialize with them. It's just really reminiscent, it's not just fitness or not just training. It's a discipline. It's a mindset to have towards life. And I figured I was looking at stuff on LinkedIn. I didn't really see much of that particular content out there. And I know a lot of business professionals, they're normally very disciplined, right? A lot of them have a specific regime as to what they eat, as to the exercise that they engage in on a daily or, every couple of days basis. So I said, well, there's a reason why a lot of very successful people, whether it's authors, CEOs, celebrities, actors, what have you, there's a reason why they have a few things in common. A lot of it is waking up early in the morning, always prioritizing exercise in their day to promote their creative juices, to get them flowing and get their body moving. So I want to take these elements that seem to be a common characteristic amongst many business professionals, and I want to really to exemplify it and show how it relates not only to your personal life and to your personal enjoyment of fitness and such, but how it's an integral component of the discipline you bring to work and the discipline that you bring to your family and friends. So I just wanted to make sure that people realize that there's a connection with everything in their life, and that their fitness and their bodies truly are integrated with what's going on in their mind, what's going on with their heart, what's going on with their diet. So it's just a great way for me to reflect on how fitness gets you out of your comfort zone and all the other things that fitness offers and how it's comparable to life, and being able to put that into a video that engages people and that kind of exemplifies to people, hey, some days workout may not go great, or there's some mental challenges you have, but you can always overcome it, and you can always apply it to something in your work life or in your personal life. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that, do something that was not as familiar on LinkedIn, and connect it back to the business world and personal development.
Wow, awesome. Yeah, that's a great point. How, like you said, like when you do those workout videos, I mean, yeah, obviously you're lifting weights, but that you can take, that discipline, that effort, your failures, your successes during your workouts, that it all connects to not just being at the gym, it connects to all areas of your life. Like you're gonna have successes and failures and setbacks, not just at the gym, but like in your personal relationships, at work, in school, whatever it is. So I'm glad you made that parallel, from your workout vids, how it ties in to your whole world, not just however 30 minutes and 1 hour that you're at the gym. So it's a great connection. But yeah, we'll wrap this up now. We're at about an hour now. So I want to, of course, thank you, Kyle, for spending time with us. Your knowledge and your resources and your motivation you shared tonight, it's awesome. This is definitely a classic episode. So I mean, I want to thank you, and on behalf of all the listeners, thank you again for imparting your wisdom with us tonight.
Absolutely, Mark. It was my pleasure. You had great insights and questions yourself, and I look forward to connecting again in the future. And thank you so much for this opportunity and for your flexibility in rescheduling me as well.
Yeah, for sure, no problem. And for everyone watching now or later, I'm gonna put Kyle's website and information in the bio. So if you guys want to learn more about him, that info will be available to you. And of course, you guys can email me directly to get more info. So yeah, everyone, thank you again for joining us tonight. If you're not watching the live stream, thank you for watching the rebroadcast. And yeah, for now, we'll talk to you guys later. See ya, everyone.
Thank you, guys.